Can you just start and explain why coming here to Pittsburgh to be the offensive coordinator just made sense for you?
Yeah, it's such a unique opportunity to be able to work for an organization like the Pittsburgh Steelers with the history, the culture here, and the opportunity to work with Mike Tomlin. To me, it's a perfect cultural fit.
In terms of your offensive philosophy, how would you describe it to somebody who's never watched one of the games you've coached?
Yeah, certainly with our offenses, we've clearly adapted to the strengths of our players, but there's a certain identity we want to have. Any offense I've been a part of, it's going to be a physical brand. You want to win the line of scrimmage, but it's also talking about playing the strengths. Obviously, trying to create explosives. Want to have a very smart unit because it's going to come down to the National Football League situational football, which kind of encompasses third down, 2 minute and a half into games. Obviously, red zone. That's what we have to do. We got to score points. You got to have those 4-point swings and create touchdowns.
For the quarterback to be successful in your system, what do you need to see from that person?
Well, I've been fortunate. I've worked with a lot of different quarterbacks at different parts of their careers. Like with Ryan Tannehill, he was at a different part of his career than Matt Ryan was when I had the opportunity to work with Matt. Then worked with young quarterbacks as well. And it's exciting to hear the way that this offense is built with a lot of young players, and obviously where Kenny Pickett's at, going to his third year. Playing with a young quarterback, being efficient, being able to get the ball out and making the smart decisions, getting the ball in the playmaker's hands, and taking care of the football. And a lot of things that come up in the responsibility of playing quarterback in the National Football League, because there's pressure situations, they happen all game. Mm-hmm. And having command of those situations and ultimately, putting the ball in the end zone, whether it's through the air, handoff or running it in. But there's a lot on it, and there's a natural evolution that happens with the quarterback.
You mentioned Kenny Pickett. Steelers president Art Rooney II said that the OC, he wants to see them help Kenny take that next step in his career. How do you start that process, and what do you think that's going to look like?
Yeah, well, first off, there's a relationship that's got to be built between me and Kenny, and that's so paramount between the play caller and the quarterback. The quarterback's obviously the one out there between the white lines, and there's a trust that's got to be built daily, and it goes both ways. I've got to earn Kenny's trust and vice versa. As we build this offense and all the things we want to work on and we want him to work on and take command of his offense.
As you start to look at this roster that's currently here now, free agency and the draft will happen, what excites you about this group?
There's a lot of exciting young football players here and guys that Pittsburgh's invested in, guys I'm really excited to coach. It's a young offense, but there's a lot of exciting players.
During your time in Atlanta as the head coach, what do you take away from that experience that can maybe help you as you come to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, obviously thankful to be here, be part of Pittsburgh, but as all the different stops on my coaching journey, very grateful for the opportunity I had in Atlanta. It was a unique situation, essentially rebuild a team, and there were some good lessons learned and some tough lessons, but it'll help me here, especially with some of the young players that we have and how you fit the offense and try to play those guys' strengths. We had a lot of young guys we invested in, and we had 3 straight years where a rookie went over 1,000 yards, guys that were productive and dealing with that and how they fit into this and what we're building here in Pittsburgh. So all those experiences add up, but I'm really excited to be here.
You mentioned Ryan Tannehill, but going back to Tennessee, the last time you were in OC, what made that group click where you guys had such great success as a unit, but also individual players too?
There's a huge part of this that the chemistry and fit matters. There's so many great players and coaches in this league, but a lot of it is about chemistry and fit and how those guys are able to come together. And there was a lot of shared values between a lot of those guys in Tennessee, and that's a big part of it, and that is real. There's certain guys that fit together and what you're trying to do, and there's an evolution as guys improve. There was a great chemistry among those guys and those offenses that I was able to be a part of in Tennessee.
You crossed paths with a lot of people with Steelers connections, Mike Mularkey, Mike Munchak, Mike Vrabel. Did you lean on those guys at all during this interview process as you decided you wanted to come to Pittsburgh?
A little bit, but those are conversations I've had through the years. There's so many people that have Pittsburgh connections that it's kind of a dream come true to be able to work here. I'm somebody that loves the history of this game. And I could even take it back to when I was able to work for 5 weeks with Tom Moore. I've already walked by I've seen a young Tom Moore. I know Tom's looked like he's been the same age for the last 30 years. He's going back, I think, for his 46th year coaching the National Football League. But those 5 weeks developed a relationship with Tom. And the one thing that hit home to me, he's like, I don't know why people don't study Chuck Noll more and Tony Dungy. Mike Mularkey was the same way. Mike got to play here at the end of his career, and then he coached here, and he was adamant about learning about Chuck, and there's not a lot of literature on Chuck Noll, and I love his humility, and we also had advice from Tom and Mike Mularkey. And then obviously you mentioned Mike Vrabel, who was here as a player, started his career here, Bill Cowher, and then I've gotten to work with Dick LeBeau, Ken Wisenhunt, Russ Grimm, Ray Horton. I mean, there's so many connections, Lou Spanos, I could go on and on, like who's who, players, and everybody to a person talks about how special it is to work here in Pittsburgh. And so I don't know many places like this in all professional sports with the history, and there's a certain unique, when people see that Steelers logo, they know what it is. And the fan base is real football fans here. They love it. I'm excited to be a part of it.
When you get a chance to talk to your players, meet your players, what's the one thing you really want them to know about you, the person?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody I've ever tried to coach, whether it's been one day or 5 years, is you try to build a relationship and to get to know the person first. And there's a certain way we want to operate. There's an expectation, but it's not lost on me. This is a relationship business, and everybody's different. And that's the one thing I'll certainly go out of my way to make sure that we have a relationship, because there's a certain style and the way we want to coach demands, and the style of play is going to be big, but it's that trust in the relationship that I'm excited about trying to develop with every player we have here on offense.
Every feature I watched or read about you, your work ethic is always brought up. How was that instilled in you, and does it go back to when you were really young? Is it a football thing?
Certainly a love of football happened at an early age. But I'd give a lot of credit to my parents. I'm one of 10 kids. My mom, she somehow got us all through. And then my father, I was fortunate to be raised by an old Marine that served 2 tours in Vietnam, and one of those humble people I know, never been impressed with himself. And so, I'm lucky I get to coach football, and I just have a mentality. I mean, you got to earn your job every day, and it's a privilege and honor being in the National Football League and certainly working for Pittsburgh. So it's the way it was instilled in me when I was young.
You mentioned your dad and the Salute to Service nominee for the Falcons the past 2 years. Is that where you got so involved in supporting the military, making sure you give back?
It is. Like I said, he was a Marine that did 2 tours in Vietnam. My great uncles and a lot of people that served in World War II. I've got 2 nephews that went to the Naval Academy that are currently serving. One's a naval pilot, and the other one took a Marine billets over in Okinawa. So it's the least I can do to try to give back.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.